Ali Vaez. He's Crisis Group's Iran Project Director in the United States. Good to have you on the program with us. How is Raisi seen there in the United States?
Well, he is seen as the Supreme Leader's protege and someone who is a real hardliner, but at the end of the day, the fundamentals in Iran have not changed. It is still the Supreme Leader who has the final say on matters of grand strategy and Iran's nuclear and regional policies. So what is expected is a much tougher tone and an attitude that matches the tone, but not necessarily any kind of fundamental changes in Iran's policy.
Right, and he, as we heard from our guest previously, he said that Raisi is determined to change Iran's foreign policy. I mean, what could Iran's future of international relations look like, especially with the U.S., Israel, and other international players?
So look, again, I don't think Raisi can choose how Iran's foreign policy is going to be devised and implemented. It's really the supreme leader, and we've already seen a toughening of Iran's position even before Raisi was elected. It was last December that the Iranian parliament passed a legislation that mandated the Rouhani administration, which was much more pragmatic, to engage in significant nuclear escalation. And the supreme leader himself, back in January, even before President Biden was inaugurated, passed a series of red lines that really toughened and hardened Iran's nuclear position. And what is expected now is more of the same, more of brinksmanship on the side of Iran, because they appear to believe that time is on their side. And with the exponential growth of their nuclear program and with more aggressive actions in the region, rocket attacks in Iraq and attacks on shipping lines in the Persian Gulf, eventually the West will have to retreat from its positions and make more concessions to Iran.
Raisi, after his confirmation on Tuesday, said that he backs talks to revive the nuclear deal. It's one of his priorities, but he is expected to take a harder line approach. What does the deal's future look like?
Look, I think if the Iranians go for this option of upping the ante and believing that time is on their side, and now that hardliners are in control of all power centers in the country, I think they are prone to overreach. And if they do so, what will happen would be reminiscent of the early years of Ahmadinejad's administration, in which we saw a race of sanctions against centrifuges. The West, the US, and the Europeans will ratchet up their sanctions as Iran is ratcheting up its nuclear program. And given the regional turmoil, that's a very dangerous escalation that could easily spiral out of control.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ramping up of the tensions with that drone attack on the tanker ship in the Gulf of Oman and that suspected hijacking attempt, which the U.S., UK, and Israel blamed on Iran, even though Iran denies it. What do you make of the timing of those attacks in the days before Raisi was due to assume the presidency?
So again, it's part of a pattern. It's not necessarily a new development. We have seen a lot of attacks on shipping in the Gulf. The reality is that the Iranians are signaling to the U.S. that as long as U.S. is implementing President Trump's maximum pressure strategy, Iranians would lash out in the region, in the nuclear realm. And this will continue until the U.S. realizes that the cost of this policy is too high and decides to retreat. Again, it's a game of chicken that is very dangerous because there's plenty of space for miscalculation. If indeed the Iranians were behind the attack on the Mercer tanker, which resulted in 2 fatalities, that might have been not the intention of actually killing individuals, but that's the kind of mistake that could result in triggering a conflict that no one wants, but everybody is prone to basically just stumbling into.
All right, Ali Vaez, thanks for explaining that, and do stay with us.